Sat Sri Akal, welcome to I'm a Brown Girl. My name's Amma. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about an experience that many of us go through but often have a hard time talking about, which is jealousy. Jealousy is a universal experience that affects everyone differently. It's interesting to see what we can learn from it. Firstly, defining jealousy is a complex emotion because it arises when we perceive a threat. It can be real or imagined to something or someone we value, like our relationships, our achievements, and our self-esteem. It can manifest into envy, sadness, insecurity, and at its worst, rage or anger. I think jealousy, even as a word, is such an ugly and heavy word because it carries a lot of shame. But really, it's an invitation to look inwards, and I mean really like deep inwards in yourself to figure out why you feel that way. Everyone at some point will feel some level of jealousy. And if you say that you haven't felt jealousy before, you're lying. You have. You just probably haven't looked inwards and figured out why. That felt like the meme where Courtney, was it Courtney or Kim? No, one of the Kardashians where she was like, "You're a liar! Liar!" Well, I'm not calling you a liar, but maybe it's just an invitation for you to look inwards and figure that out for yourself. You might see a friend succeed or someone have something that you've really wanted, like an achievement, or you might be comparing yourself to someone online, but having the feelings of jealousy doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you human. In terms of relating jealousy to the brown lens, I've always grown up with jealousy around me, especially as the fat kid. I would always feel very jealous of my thinner friends. My dream was to know what it felt like to wake up with a flat stomach. Like, let that sink in. Like, that was genuinely a dream, which a dream I did eventually achieve in my 20s, but I was incredibly miserable. And I wasn't the most healthiest. But anyway, that's a story for another time. It was really just the chat shit aunties that made me feel incredibly self-conscious about myself. I always felt like the biggest person in the room and I took up a lot of space. And I don't mean in a good way. I mean as in like I took up a lot of space because I was fat. The jealousy I felt was purely because of my low self-esteem and the fact that these thin girls had something that I didn't have. If we take that as an example of jealousy and look at the emotion for what it was, it really comes down to the fact that I was projecting because I had low self-esteem as a result of chat shit aunties. But if we just ignore that for a second and just look at the emotion for what it was because these thin girls had something that I didn't, which was wanting to be thin. And I projected that. How I decided to act out about that jealousy wasn't exactly where I was being mean to my friends who were thinner than me. It was just that I felt really insecure and I felt really bad for myself and ended up having very unhealthy coping mechanisms as a young adult. And it took me a very long time to unlearn that. But again, it was clear that there was a level of jealousy. I also think about all the chat shit aunties I used to have around me when it came to dating and how it was always, oh, did you see so-and-so's daughter hanging out with this boy? Or did you see so-and-so's son hanging out with a white girl? But if you actually deep it and look at it for what it is, when you hear these chat shit aunties talking negatively about a young person dating, as they should, experiencing life, trying to figure things out for them, it makes me question if they project that negativity because they are quite deeply unhappy themselves and probably never experienced dating themselves and are quite unhappy with the relationships they've entered or the marriages they've entered. So it kind of possibly makes them feel better to chat shit about others and project that negativity to be like, oh, so-and-so is doing this and so-and-so is doing that. But in reality, they should focus on themselves and figure out why they're jealous in the first place, which is probably because they are miserable and unhappy in their reality. Jealousy is something that I've always grown up with, even though it wasn't in my face and I knew that, oh, this is what jealousy is. There was always underlining feelings of jealousy here and there. I just didn't know that that's what it truly was. And I think that jealousy can bring up a lot of ugly and cause you to act out in ways that you shouldn't. But if you can learn to understand the root of where it's coming, it gives you an invitation to understand the deeper reason of why you're feeling like that. So the real question is, why do we feel jealous? From my understanding, jealousy roots from inadequacy or the fear of losing something really important to you. It can also be a reflection of your own desires, what we wished we had or believed that we lack. As a very simple example, as I've already mentioned, seeing someone be successful and wanting to have that success. The jealousy I have recently felt is within romantic relationships. The thought of my partner not loving me or leaving me created a large amount of insecurity within me and a little bit of jealousy as well. And for a very, very long time, I thought, no, I'm not a jealous person. I don't feel any jealousy, blah, blah, blah. But recently, I had those feelings come up and it was really interesting because I was like, oh, I'm not used to this. I don't like this. It really made me feel despair at some points. And again, it was an invitation to look inwards. So what I've learned is I'm not crazy. I'm human and it's normal to feel these feelings. But it was as a result of abandonment that made me have these feelings in the first place. We all know by this point, if you have watched my podcast, that abandonment is something that I've grown up with, I've always experienced, and I've only gotten better at healing and learning how to navigate through that. But sometimes it does come up, and these feelings of jealousy were actually a good way for me to realize that, oh, I'm not crazy. It's just the thought of my partner leaving me or them not loving me is because of abandonment. It's my job to make sure that I hold myself accountable to move forward and heal and understand those emotions so that my avoidant tendencies is something that don't sabotage my future relationships. There's also the conversation around parents feeling jealous of their own children, and that is something I can relate with. I feel super vulnerable saying this, but there have been times where I've felt that my mum has been possibly jealous of me. I've never said that out loud because it feels really heavy and quite to say it out loud. But I know I'm not the only one who's felt like that. And I think in terms of bringing it up in conversation, I would not bring it up in conversation personally for me because I know my mum was going through a hard time at the time where she possibly had felt jealous of me or where I thought she maybe felt jealous of me. And I can't imagine if I was going through what she was going through or if I was having a low mental health moment and someone came to me saying, oh, I think you're jealous of me. Even if that was true, I don't see what good would come from it. I don't see how that conversation would be helpful or constructive or healing in any way. So it was more of a thing where I had to let her figure out whatever she was going through for herself, rather than me coming to her and saying, oh, are you jealous? Because I've done things that my mum wished that she had done and far beyond more than she possibly even dreamed of. I can understand if there were feelings of resentment because my mum's just a girl too, you know? She also had dreams and aspirations that she had to sacrifice and didn't get to achieve because of life getting in the way, kids, marriage, finances, whatever. But I know my mum is genuinely happy for me and wants me to continue thriving and living a great life. So after the years of my mum looking inwards, understanding herself, dealing with depression, self-discovery, looking inwards, doing better for herself, I'm so proud of her. And I can see that she is a completely different woman now. She actually invests in her own interests and goes out and has a great friendship group and loves herself and always tries to do better as every day comes. I think sometimes as the person who's not feeling jealous, it can be really easy to think or say, oh, but you have no reason to be jealous of me. But you're not the one experiencing the other person's experience. So it's really not you, it's on them to figure out why. I think with the example of my mum, it's really nice to just see jealousy for what it really was rather than this heavy, ugly thing, which it doesn't really need to be. If you can relate to me about your parents feeling jealous of you, feel free to share your story. My DMs are always open. And I'm not talking about, oh, this person was so and so jealous of me and they did horrible things and blah, blah, blah. I mean, if that is the case and you want to share, please feel free. It's a safe space. But I'm talking more about the experiences where you or someone else experienced jealousy and you were able to see the other side of it for what it was and how you were able to heal from it or how they were able to heal from it. I wish there was an easy step-by-step guide on how to deal with jealousy, but everyone's experience is complex. Everyone's way of dealing with their jealousy is complex. So it's really difficult to just say there's 4 simple steps on how to deal with that, because there's not. If I had a friend come to me and ask me, how do I deal with jealousy? I've condensed it down to 5 points so that hopefully you can take it with a pinch of salt and it might help you if it is something that you're dealing with. Firstly, acknowledge the fact that you feel jealous. Recognize your feelings and give yourself compassion. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your friends if they were feeling jealous. Secondly, I would reflect and understand why you're feeling the jealousy. Where is it coming from? What emotions does it trigger? Does it trigger any sensations in your body? Is there a goal that you want to pursue? You could even consider finding comfort in talking to a friend or a partner or someone you trust. But it's on you to do the inner work to reflect and understand that jealousy is not an excuse to be mean or act out to someone else. And then I would also remind you to practice gratitude. Actually appreciate what you have rather than what you don't have. I would also mention that jealousy can be used as a tool for motivation. It can inspire you to better yourself and go and work on the things or the achievements that you want to achieve rather than bringing someone else down. Lastly, I would remind you to celebrate others and learn how to genuinely be happy for others and give them their flowers, because your time will come. Everything happens for a reason. Whatever is yours is already yours. So why even worry about it? When it's going to be your time, you would also appreciate if others are happy for you. So in the moments that it's not your time and it's someone else's time, remember to make sure you celebrate them. To wrap up, when it comes to jealousy, it can leave you feeling very insecure, inadequate. It might make you crash out and say things that you don't mean. But rather than taking it as a negative thing, see it as an invitation to look inwards. If you're unhappy with something in your life and you're not taking the actionable steps, it's kind of counterproductive. You can't complain about something over and over and over again without having a plan or having actionable steps, or even taking the first step to make things a little bit easier. That could be changing a simple habit, changing something in your routine, as small as making your bed can make a huge difference to your mental well-being. And I don't want to be that cheesy girl who's just like, oh, think positively, and that fixes everything. Because sometimes when you're depressed and you're going through it, it's very, very difficult to think positively. But you can make life whatever you really want it to be. You just have to be delusional enough to just keep going, not give up, take every day as it comes, practice gratitude, be kind to yourself. It's the small things, the small steps that will help you get to where you want. But it's all up there. It's in your mind. It's in the way you think. It's in the way you process and looking inwards. You can't expect someone to spoon feed you or expect change from someone else before you've looked inwards and tried to understand why you feel the way you feel. Apart from that, I think that's all I have to say on jealousy today. In terms of my general check-in, I've been doing great, if you can't tell already, with the Uncle Waffles poster in my background, smiling, which is signed, by the way. It really just takes one good night out. It really does. That's all I really needed. And I have so many things in terms of nights out, things to do over the summer to look forward to. I think that's what's got me motivated. I feel good. I feel energized. Sure, there are things that are really stressing me out. In fact, last night I had to sit up in my bed for 20 minutes and do a breathing exercise because I was so stressed out that I couldn't sleep and it was so over-consuming. I couldn't go to sleep. I was on the verge of tears, but it was because I was overwhelmed. I think I was having a slight panic attack, but recently I've gotten really good at taking control of my emotions and giving myself grace. After I did my breathing exercise, I put on some frequencies for anxiety and stress relief. I kid you not, today I've woken up and I feel like a new woman. So, in terms of life updates, I have recently joined Roundhouse on one of their programs. I don't want to say too much just because it's still very early days, but a lot is coming. I think in terms of the podcast, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying how I feel quite stagnant. I don't know where it's going. I feel like I might be closing it up because I feel like I've already kind of done what I set out to do, which was share my story and have at least one person listen to it. But that one person has ended up being so many more. And that's what I really, truly wanted for this podcast. But now that I've had this amazing opportunity come up from Roundhouse, if you don't know what Roundhouse is, it is the biggest creative space for, I think it's 16 or 15 to 30-year-olds, where you can go and you can use their facilities with like creative studios, podcast studios, open spaces, whatever. And they have amazing mentors. And it's just amazing. So I've ended up actually being on one of their programs, and there's going to be a lot of great things coming. I don't know what's going to come from it, but it was literally my last kind of saving grace before I give up. And I think if you're a creative, you can really relate with that. Any creative project you do, there will be a point where you're like, why am I doing this? Am I good enough? Is this good? Why am I doing this? Do I still continue? But something happens, something comes up, and it gives you a sign to just keep going. So if you have been feeling like that, please take this as your sign. I've also been getting close to my mum. I feel like I said this before, but the day I turned 25, it was like a switch went off in my brain. I see my mum for who she is. I'm not saying that she doesn't piss me off still. She really does. There's a lot of things that we still are yet to work through, but I'm loving the relationship and where it's at right now. Anytime I feel stressed or low, I go over, she feeds me, we have a good yap. I feel good. She feels good. We hug, which is lovely. And I say that with a bit of a surprised expression because I had a really hard time with physical touch over the years, especially with my mum. So I had a thing with like hugging. I really don't like anyone hugging me. I don't like anyone touching me. So for me to be able to hug my mum is huge for me. And yeah, I'm liking how it's going. I can't remember when I spoke about this, but it was possibly over a year ago. I bought a Moldavite ring, which I wear without fail. And I've seen some crazy Moldavite stories, and I'm not recommending anyone to go and buy Moldavite because it is a very strong crystal. But I kid you not, when I say Moldavite will force you to be where you need to be, whether you like it or not, yes, it works. And it works wonders. So overall, I think for this check-in / episode, if you are going through a hard time, if you are having issues with jealousy or self-doubt or anything, it's going to be okay. Give yourself a hug. Stop being hard on yourself. You're going to be fine. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I forgot to mention. Oh my God, I went to a sound bath yesterday. And that was my third ever sound bath. I've been to this specific company twice, and in my opinion, they are the best one. They are called the Self-Love Lab. They're on Instagram. You can book them directly through their bio. But oh my God, this woman, her name's Zora, I think that's her name. What a lovely girl. She's one of the best sound practitioners, in my opinion. Every time I've been to her session, I always cry. It's such a good release. I always feel at peace. I always leave feeling very relaxed, and I see things that I need to see and understand. I feel like I'm able to connect with myself on a deeper level. And I would say that generally I'm quite a spiritual person, but sometimes you need the help of these certain practices to tap in a little bit deeper. And I can definitely say this girl knows what she's doing. So if you're looking for a really good sound bath, go to this company. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, a very chill one. I'm loving this style of podcasting. Who knows what the future holds? I'm very excited. I feel very motivated. And I hope that you were able to feel inspired by listening to this episode. And I wish you guys the best. Thank you so much for making it to the end. I thank you for watching. I thank you for listening. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Sat Shri Akal. Bye.